Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Barnaby Edwards, and I'm a product manager for Operative.
And I'd like to start off things by thanking everybody for joining our webinar today entitled Ad Server Evaluation, How to Choose the Right Ad Server for Your Business. As a product manager for Operative One integrations with ad servers, I work to ensure that our software enables customers to seamlessly manage all of their orders in one place and working with multiple ad servers along the way. I previously worked in this type of capacity for Donovan Data Systems, so I've come to know the ins and outs of all the major ad servers in our industry on both the publisher and the agency side of the equation. So before we get started with the presentation, there are a couple of housekeeping notes. All of you, and there are quite a few of you out there, are in listen-only mode for the webinar, so any noise that is taking place on your end will not distract me or your fellow participants. We will be taking questions, though. The GoToWebinar questions panel should be available to all of you, and you can just type in your questions there at any time. And we will set aside some time at the end of the presentation to go over as many of them as we can. Finally, this session is being recorded, and we'll do our best to make it available to you by email within 24 hours or so of the end of the webinar. So let's get started. What are we going to talk about today to help you choose the right ad server for your business? First and foremost, we want to talk about why this is as much a strategic decision as it is a technical decision. Of course, an ad server is technology, and you're going to evaluate it in the same way that you evaluate any other technology that's going to help you understand your business. But it's more than just that, because it's a strategic decision, just as any other technology purchase really ought to be. We're going to talk about what we feel you should know about yourself before going and evaluating any of the technology partners that are out there. And then we're going to do a deep dive into five leading ad servers that are out on the market today that we chose to evaluate for both this webinar and for the white paper that we'll be publishing next week that accompanies it. And we chose these five ad servers because these are the ones that come up most frequently in conversations that we have with existing customers in all aspects of our business and with prospects. And they are DFP Small Business, DSP Premium, also known as a new DFP, new Google DFP, XSP, and numerous other abbreviations that were out there when the product was being developed and described before Google settled upon DFP Premium as the official one. AdTech by Helios, 24/7 Real Media OpenAppStream, which I'll be talking about as OAS for the rest of the presentation because the full name is a bit of a mouthful. And finally, OpenX Enterprise. There are a few things we chose not to cover, though, as part of this. Because what we decided to focus on was something that would be generally applicable to as many digital publishers and organizations looking to monetize their online inventory as possible. So we decided not to focus on the excellent technologies out there that cover some of the more specialized aspects of digital ad serving, because none of these would really ever be used as your primary ad server for monetizing digital inventory. The examples of this would be on the video front. Three excellent market leaders in that area, Freewheel, Auditude, and LiveRail, all of which do a great job of covering the complicated rights management and other aspects of video inventory, which is different from standard display and rich media. AdMarvel and Ringleader in the mobile specialist area. and the fourth-party ad servers, which help enhance the advertising creatives that you're able to display on behalf of your advertiser and agency customers, MediaMind, Pointwell, and Zeno. All of these needed to be excluded because to cover them and try and compare them to an all-purpose ad server, such as the ones that we chose, really wouldn't be fair to any of them. So I'm sure the final question you've got, other than what we're going to cover and what we're not going to cover, is why can Operative talk about how to choose the right ad server? Where does Operative get that expertise? And it's really from the first-hand experience that we've had with clients for more than 11 years in the two aspects of our business. The managed services aspect of our business, where we help our publisher clients with the jobs of trafficking and campaign management, and also provide technical consulting services and troubleshooting support in the areas of trafficking and ad serving. And then the other half of our business is Operative One, where we provide an advertising business management solution that enables publishers and media companies to take their sales order from RFP to opportunity to selling it, to executing it by pushing it to the ad server, and then collecting delivery data and sending out invoices at the end of each month. So we've been doing this for a long time, and along the way, when we made the decision to put together this white paper and webinar, we also talked to clients who recently made an ad serving decision about the things that motivated them, and we talked to our partner ad servers about the things that differentiated themselves them from the other technologies in this same area. So this is a technology decision, and it's like any other decision about technology that you'll be using to run your business. But this one, above many of the others, is one of the biggest. You know, it's all very well having a really great sales team that can go out and sell. It's all very well having technology that enables you to model the data and the traffic that you're getting on your website and digital channels. Figuring out who's visiting, figuring out yield, figuring out optimal costs, having an excellent and efficient finance team that gets invoices out on time. None of that really matters if you don't have a great technology delivering the impressions and delivering the revenue with maximum uptime, with maximum scalability, and with as few technical limitations as possible. And that's what the ad server does. It's what executes what's been sold, enables you to figure out those yield curves, figure out those exciting data models. Without that, you really don't have a business. The other thing that really should drive this decision and make it something that is critical to your business is that you don't want to make it again. We know from bits of experience working with publishers who've gone through it that migrating from an ad server is costly, time-consuming, and complex. It's like changing the tires on a car while it's running down the road at 60 miles an hour, because you don't want to stop delivering revenue along the way. So choosing an ad server and choosing the right ad server is a long-term investment, and you should really make sure that you take the time to do it right. So with that being said, we think it's important to start out by performing a self-evaluation about your business before you even start talking to technology vendors. You know, being a technology vendor ourselves, we know that technology vendors come in and give an opinion about what we think your business is like. So if we're going to do that, other technology vendors are going to do the same, and it's important that you have a good idea about what your business is before somebody else comes in and tells you what they think it is. This includes things such as deciding before you get started what is your selling strategy for monetizing your digital inventory. Are you going to be selling a lot of packages? Are you going to be having a lot of specialist types of video units and specialist types of ad units going into video and mobile? Or are you going to bring different, if you operate in different types of media, not just digital, but print or radio or TV? Are you going to be bringing all of those things together? Is digital an add-on, or is digital a primary revenue stream? Just as important, how much experience does your team have in trafficking and campaign management? Are you just getting started with monetizing digital inventory, or have you been doing this for a long time and you're looking to make a switch from your existing ad server? That experience is very important in evaluating which ad server is right for your business. As is growth, and how you actually look at your business from a sales perspective. Are you going to have a direct sales team who will be out selling directly to advertisers and agencies? Or are you going to focus more on self-service and indirect as the channel for monetizing your inventory? Do you have special ad serving requirements? This is not just limited to specific ad units, but are you going to be bringing in other channels or going out to focus a lot on video, focus a lot on mobile as major revenue streams? Somewhat in line with number 2 is how important is ease of use and getting ramped up. The different ad servers all have different ramp up and ramp up ease of use considerations, both from the trafficker perspective and also from the site tagging perspective. Sometimes it's very easy to get started, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So that's an important question about how quickly you want to go to market. You also want to be aware of technical limitations your organization may have, which will impact how much support that you're going to need. Again, this goes alongside and hand in hand with number 2 and the experience, but it's a little bit more than that. How are you going to need the ad server to provide a lot of hands-on support and help you through it, or do you have a strong technical team and a strong IT department that's going to be able to provide the majority of the support needed to manage the site and help manage the technology in-house? And then there's the budget question. We're going to, budget is another thing we're not really going to focus on, especially in this webinar. Costs and pricing, it tends to be something that's very much handled one-on-one between a technology vendor and their customer. So while it's very important that before you get started with talking to people, as with any technology decision, you bear your budget in mind and you know what budget constraints you have available, it's not something we're going to use as a point of differentiation between the different ad servers that we're going to evaluate, with one small exception that we'll get to when we get there. As well as this self-evaluation and this checklist, it's important to think about the intangibles, because there are always intangibles when making a business decision, especially one about technology. When you're evaluating a vendor, almost in any aspect of your business, you want to think about whether they're going to be a good partner, whether they're good to work with, whether you get on with them, whether they seem like they're going to work with the way that your business works and have similar philosophies. You want to know whether they're going to be aligned with your long-term goals and objectives, or whether you're going to have to fight to get enhancements, to get changes, to maintain the philosophy that you want to have. You want to look at them from an innovation perspective. Do they have a history of being a market leader, or do they tend to follow along behind the other technologies in their space? You want to look at their clients. It may be that that the kind of client base that that a particular technology provider has is very different from the kind of company that you see yourself as being, the kind of business, the kind of part of the digital ecosystem that you see yourself as sitting in. A newspaper company is very different from an entertainment company, and they have different kinds of ad serving needs, and it may be that one ad server just seems to fit that kind of niche better than others. And then at the end of the day, after you've done your due diligence about whether the technology meets the needs and whether the company meets your needs, it's going to come down to personal preference and a gut feeling. In the same way that, on a personal level, some people like Macs and some people like PCs. You're going to have the same reaction to the relationship you have with the salesperson for company A over company B, and the relationship that you feel with the technology, the user interface, the colors, the whole thing. It's impossible to ignore that aspect of this, and as we go through this evaluation, it's impossible for us not to ignore our own personal preferences. So, we've talked about the things that we feel that companies should think about before choosing the ad server and should bear in mind. Now we're going to do a deep dive into the 5 ad servers that we chose to evaluate for this webinar. So, let's take a closer look. The first up is DFP Small Business, which is built by Google as a complete toolkit for ad delivery and revenue optimization. It's their starter platform, so it's free and quick to implement, and is a really good platform for publishers just starting to figure out how to monetize their digital inventory. And it integrates with AdSense. I think actually from memory, because I was setting one of these accounts up towards the end of last year, that you actually need to have an AdSense account before you can get a DFP Small Business account, and that took me, so I had to go and get that set up when I was working with them a little while ago. So it's tightly integrated, obviously. The format we're going to follow for each of these is we're going to look at the pros and the cons of each of these ad servers at a fairly high level. We're not going to do that, do a real feature by feature comparison. All of the ad servers we're talking about have the core basic features that you would expect. They have great uptime, they have reliability, and they've been doing this for quite a while. So when we get to these pros and cons, they tend to be more of the intangible kind of areas and the things that we think you need to consider that correspond to items on the checklist that we discussed earlier. So the pros of DFP Small Business, and this is where we break the rule of not talking about cost, because DFP Small Business is free, at least up to a certain level. Because that's, as I said, it's the entry level ad server in the DFP Google ecosystem. And simple to set up, so you can get yourself ramped up very quickly and start using it within a few days. Another big pro is that as you start out and then you grow and you reach that level where you're no longer free, and you're becoming a medium-sized publisher, there's a growth path built in because you've started on the Google platform, so you'll be moving forward to the next level of the Google platform if you reach that level of scale. Having access to AdSense as an additional revenue stream, if you don't have a direct sales team and you're not doing everything direct, also is going to help immeasurably in monetizing inventory that's available. And it's built on the new Google API platform, so it's going to be reliable. They've been talking. It's on the same API platform as DSP Premium. So if you want to integrate from other sources or use the APIs for building BI systems internally, you know that they're available. On the flip side, DFP Small Business has a lack of scale. So if you're big or even a medium-sized publisher, it probably isn't the right decision for you. It's limited in the amount of targeting capabilities that it has. It is a starter product. So if you plan on differentiating yourself as a digital publisher by being able to target specific groups of customers, again, DFP Small Business is not going to do that for you. It doesn't have mobile and video capabilities. Again, it's the starter platform in the Google ecosystem, and everything runs against Google. If you want to use an exchange or an ad network, you're going to be doing it within the Google ecosystem, which is both a pro and a con. As you can see here, it's great because the Google ecosystem is vast, and everybody knows them, and they've been doing it very well for a long time. But if you wanted to go outside of that, then DFP Small Business is not going to let you do it. And that can be considered a con for some people. As we move forward, we're now going into the 4 major premium ad servers that we're going to be talking about, and the first of these is the new DFP Premium platform, which is the relaunched platform of the market-leading ad server that's been doing, so basically created this market and over 10 years ago now, and has been the market leader and has the biggest market share, and all of us know them. They have the powerful targeting and packaging capabilities from the legacy product brought forward. It's a brand new API-based architecture, which is good for integrations, and as you would expect, it's fully integrated into the Google advertising ecosystem, and is bound to get evaluated by any medium to large publisher managing different revenue streams. So when we start digging into DFP Premium, what do we think are as key points and key pros about DFP Premium? Well, they are the market leader, and being the market leader provides a wealth of experience. They've been doing this for a very long time, so and very successfully. So we know that they know what they're doing, and they've probably been there, seen it, and done it. The new DFP Premium platform has created a new flexible and comprehensive site taxonomy using ad units, which can be arranged in a hierarchy, which takes it far beyond the legacy DFP product, where you have sites and zones, and then often have to supplement that with key values, which could make site taxonomies pretty complicated. In the experience that we've had with some of our publisher customers, they've added the new DFP Premium platform has brought forward the same great packaging capabilities that were in the legacy platform, and streamlines the targeting that's available with the custom criteria that is present in the new platform. Provides more reliability and more efficiency, not to mention less error-prone than key values did in DFP Legacy, where everything has to be manually typed. Now custom criteria are predefined, which reduces the room for error and should make that a lot easier. And the API component of the platform on which it's built makes integration a lot easier. The old DSP APIs were very good. The new ones are even better and have a lot more scale to them, and make it very easy for publishers to integrate with the platform for a variety of different reasons, whether it's an order management system like Operative One, or whether it's for yield management purposes, or whether it's just for creating an internal business intelligence data store. The APIs can do all of that for you. The cons, Google owns DFP, and while they are a great technology provider, they're also out there with a bunch of salespeople competing for the same digital advertising dollars that you're selling against. Maybe sharing information with them would be considered a risk. You know, it's that interesting quandary that everybody has to go through. So you know, it has to be considered a negative against DSP Premium for some media companies. It is a new platform, and to take full advantage of that new platform may require retagging and effort. That's not to say that the migration path that's been presented by Google following from DFP Legacy to DFP Premium, if that's something that you're going to be going through over the next year or so, it has to involve that. You know, certainly the migration path that I've seen that's been presented by Google is very straightforward and can take site zones and move them straight to the new taxonomy. But to take full advantage of all of those of the flexible and comprehensive site taxonomy and hierarchy we talk about as being a big pro of DFP Premium, would require some additional effort. The complicated site taxonomy could also be considered a con to a certain extent. Flexibility is great, but it often breeds complication, which requires additional training and may make it more complicated for if you have high turnover in your trafficking group. And that's typical for Google. You know, hands-on support isn't standard. They tend to like support being emailed and responses handled by email or through the support center and through their very comprehensive documentation and help center. So DFP Premium, pros and cons, as with all of them. The next ad server we're going to look at is AdTech. It's another strong ad server, as all of the four bigger ad servers we're going to be looking at are. It's a strong ad server, and their ad serving capabilities are easily equivalent to DFP Premium in terms of uptime, scalability, and the general feature set that's available. They have a strong presence in Europe and robust reporting and a good set of workflow tools available within the AdTech ad server UI and for traffickers and ad operations personnel. Some of the things that we really like about AdTech, and we'll consider pros of them, is their simple and flexible tagging structure. We've worked with them quite a lot and found it to be very straightforward. They have some powerful targeting options, and you know, the tree structure that's available in the AdTech UI, I think, is very intuitive, and it makes it very easy to see exactly what you're targeting, both in the website structure of sites and placements, as well as the keyword tree functionality, which it's very easy to use. It's very obvious exactly what you're checking and what you're choosing to target within the hierarchical structure. Their good European presence makes them a good choice for anybody who is doing a lot of business in the European market. Their robust reporting and analytics is also of note, and we've had customers comment on that being a strength of the AdTech platform. You're able to manage display and video from a single interface. DFP Premium offers this as well, so it's not, you know, we're not saying DFP Premium doesn't, but it, you know, again, it's been something that's been commented on in discussions that we've had with AdTech customers. And as with anybody else, they will integrate with preferred ad networks, and we've gone through implementations with customers who have performed good integrations of AdTech with other ad networks. By contrast, though, there are some things which AdTech we feel doesn't do quite as well, and have come up in conversations and our own usage of the AdTech ad server. The UI can be kind of confusing for new users. There's some of the labels on the tabs within the flights and the campaigns are not immediately intuitive, and it takes a little while to get to remembering where certain things sit. I know that I work with so many ad servers on a regular basis that sometimes it's difficult to keep all of the terminology straight in your head, and you've got to go actually and I click on a couple of different tabs before finding the thing that I want. Obviously, when you're using it every day, that's not so much of a problem. But if you have high turnover within your trafficking groups, that training curve and that learning curve may be a little higher. As with anything, too many options, and AdTech provides a lot of options for targeting and for tagging and for creating a taxonomy. There's almost too many options sometimes, and it's difficult to know which to choose. Too much choice can breed complication. Their forecasting isn't as flexible as some of the other ad servers. It requires campaign creation. So using AdTech for inventory can be a little less efficient than maybe using an order management system or some of the other ad servers out there, because you've got to create the campaign before really being able to figure out the inventory. And they don't have an in-house plug-in ad network, so you're going to need to have two user interfaces to manage those multiple revenue streams. Adding to the technology stack that you're going to be using to monetize your inventory. Next up is OAS, OpenAppStream from 24/7 Real Media. It's another strong ad server, and ad serving capabilities equivalent to DSP Premium. We use DSP Premium as the benchmark here, not because we're saying they are the best, but they are the market leader with the biggest market share. So since they always come up in conversation, they're a good benchmark to use when making a comparison. One of the points of differentiation for OpenAppStream is the intuitive and simple tagging like page hierarchy that matches a website taxonomy and makes it really easy to see what's what. And again, they have good APIs for integration purposes. So when we look at the pros of OpenAppStream, that flexible hierarchy and simple to understand tag structure, it really is a major pro, and comes up whenever we discuss it, and when we've been working with them and with other publishers who are using them. It's something they always bring up as something that they like about OpenAppStream. They have a lot of rich targeting options available. They approach targeting slightly differently than the other ad servers that are out there, but that's both the search term and the cookie targeting provide a lot of powerful options for really focusing down the target for the particular campaign to a particular group of consumers, and they've made this simple, even simpler with the new targeting template functionality that was recently introduced into this ad serving platform. That made something that's kind of complex a lot simpler. Again, they'll integrate with ad networks as chosen by the publisher, whether it's 24/7 Zone or an alternative, and they tend to like to provide hands-on rewards. Something we've had come up in a lot of conversations with them and with their customers. On the flip side for OpenAppStream, the UI for traffickers can be considered a little confusing. It's quite different from some of the others, with the terminology of campaign being what would often be termed a line item, and different ways of viewing exactly what's going on in the ad server at any one time, and what campaigns are out there and how that lighting works. The creative library is newer and not as rich as maybe some of the other ones that are out there. This is improving all the time, and that's I've seen improvements, absolute improvements in in recent releases of OAS, but it is a newer area for them. As with the other ad servers I've talked about, complex targeting can be confusing. The targeting templates certainly make it easier, but if you haven't spent a lot of time building the targeting templates, or the targeting template functionality hasn't reached the level of maturity that you might need, that complex targeting can be confusing. And while cookie targeting is very powerful, it's opened up to the same weaknesses that the key values in legacy DFP had of the freeform text entry. And once again, inventory queries need a campaign to be created, meaning that you may have to spend time building something in order to find out what the availability may be. The last ad server we're going to talk about in detail is OpenX. OpenX Enterprise is the newest kid on the block, really, of the big ad servers, but comes up an awful lot. It's very different from the previous open source product, which was not as comprehensive, it was not as robust. It is 100% rewrite and has powerful targeting tools that are equivalent to the DSP, AdTech, and OAS ones. It supports all of the other channels as well. So if you don't need specialization in those channels, just as with DSP Premium, AdTech, and OAS, you can manage all of your channels and revenue channels out of the single ad server. All of those are available in OpenX. Kind of differently, it considers itself, brands itself as a revenue-serving platform rather than just an ad-serving platform, which is interesting. When we talk to them about integrating, we know that we're integrating with the same APIs, but they actually build their own UI on, which is always nice to hear from an integration perspective. Yes, I'm a little biased. I like to know that I'm using the same APIs that their own developers are using, because that gives me a lot more confidence in their capabilities. So when we evaluate OpenX, we really like their open access philosophy and the ability to plug into other technologies. It seems to be built into their DNA, and I suppose that really comes from being originally an open source platform as opposed to an enterprise platform. The system architecture of building on the APIs is very appealing. Their inventory setup, being able to be as simple or as complex as desired, is appealing, as it is in many of the ad servers that we've discussed today. As is the single enterprise UI that all of them offer, with the exception of AdTech. Being able to look at all of your revenue channels from the same enterprise user interface is always appealing. Another thing I like about OpenX that I think is unique to them, but will need to be proved on, is the vanity domain. Privacy is something that comes up in this industry all the time. It's one of those buzzwords that everybody likes talking about. Being able to have an ad server that has a vanity domain name that syncs with you is a nice to have, a nice add-on if privacy is a big concern within your own organization. On the flip side, yes, I know I've said on the flip side a few times, but there's a limited way to describe this. When we look at the cons, the product is newer. And it comes with the risks associated with a newer product that's out there in the market now. They certainly have a good footprint, and they have some very big customers, so it's not like it's not doing the job. But there is always concern when you have a newer product out there. And you're maybe focusing on growing the market share rather than building new features. And once again, inventory requires a campaign to be created, so you have that con within the ad server itself of not being able to view inventory without the campaign creation. But of course, as with all of these ad servers, integrating with an order management system may remove that concern and whatever that order management system might be. So, what's the bottom line? Gone through a lot of detail about a lot of different ad servers here. the simple message we have about all of these ad servers is they will do the job. All of them will. DFP Small Business is great for beginners, but it's obviously not going to be ideal if you have advanced business requirements and advanced ad serving requirements. DSP Premium, AdTech, 24/7 Media, OpenX are all good options for medium to large publishers. DFP Premium, you want the strong capabilities for inventory management, optimization, and reporting. It's a good choice. AdTech, medium to large publishers, it'll do the job. Especially if you've got business in Europe and want simplified workflows, it's a good thing to go ahead and look at. OAS, 24/7 Media, the straightforward, easy to understand tagging and site hierarchies combined with complex and powerful targeting makes it a good thing to look at if those are big concerns for you. OpenX offers two options. OpenXArm has an equivalent to DFP Small Business. We don't have enough experience with it to really be able to go in and tell you the pros and cons of it. So we chose not to, talk about something we didn't have good knowledge about. But it is available, and should probably be looked at if you were going to look at a DFP Small Business. But for medium to large publishers, it's a robust, open platform, and if you see yourself as someone who wants to take advantage of all of the new technologies that are cropping up every day in this industry, OpenX likes to plug in with those kinds of things, and so they may be a good people to talk to as part of your evaluation process as you do your due diligence about choosing the right ad server. So how do you figure out which of these is right for you? And we would go out, we would recommend following this process. Go through the self-assessment questions. We talked about them briefly in this webinar, and the complimentary white paper that will be released next week will have a full set of questions in there and a checklist for you to go ahead and try and drive some of those questions that we recommend you ask. Complete the evaluation checklist that's sitting in that white paper. It will help you identify your critical requirements versus some of the nice-to-haves that we've talked about during this webinar, and we'll talk about more in the white paper. And then once you've identified who you are and what your key needs are, reach out to the providers that best match them. All of the ad servers that we've talked about here deserve evaluation and should be looked at when making this decision. Some of them will work better for you than others, and there are probably other ad servers that we didn't have time to cover today that you should also go out and look at when you're reaching out to providers. But if you follow the process and ask the right questions, you'll be able to get the right ad server for you. So that brings us to the end of the formal presentation section of the webinar. I'm going to go and have a look now and see what questions are out there. So I'm going to start with the first question, which is we've been asked if we were going to host a webinar on mobile and video ad servers in the near future. The answer is we've got no plans to do that at the present time, but if there is interest, please feel free to reach out to us and let us know, and we'll certainly consider it for the future. Another question that's out there regarding OpenX Enterprise, is it still based off the old PHP code, and are there security risks? I don't have enough knowledge about the security risks, but from my discussions with them and talks with mutual prospects and customers, it is a 100% rewrite. So as far as I understand it, the original code is not there. So that those security concerns should not be present, but you would need to double check that with them directly. There's a question about comparing the ad service presented from a cost and price perspective. As I said, we chose not to really evaluate that type of thing past the freeness of DFP Small Business and the startup kind of ad servers, because really cost discussions are a matter for you and your technology partner rather than for another technology company to really get involved in. So it's not something we feel comfortable discussing. A good question here is, does Operative One integrate with the ad servers covered on the call today? Yes, it does. If we integrate with DFP Small Business and DFP Premium, AdTech and OpenAppStream, and we're in discussions with OpenX about integrating with them and just waiting for the right opportunity and partner to want to do that. So, yes, Operative One is very much working with these major ad servers in the marketplace and others in addition to it, including Freewheel. Could we send out a copy of the deck to us? That'll be going out with the recording. So, as I mentioned, within about 24 hours or so, technology permitting, the copy of the deck and the recording will be sent out to you. Do I have any insight or experience with AppNexus? Was another question. Yes, we do. Operative One actually integrates with AppNexus. We didn't evaluate it as a primary ad server because we haven't seen customers want to use it in that capacity. But certainly as an exchange ad server and a real-time bidding ad server, we've had good experiences with working with them, and they're certainly someone worth talking to for that kind of monetization. We have a question about, do I have recommendations on third-party management systems or programs? Well, we're kind of biased in that arena because Operative One obviously is the order management system that we would recommend, which provide inventory management, provide sales management, campaign management, as well as invoicing and tracking capabilities. So, we feel that, obviously the third-party management system we would recommend is Operative One. The question about the DFP Premium sync with DFA for impression reporting being a real plus. Certainly, it is a real plus. Being able, obviously one of the big challenges in our industry is to be able to reconcile primary and third-party delivery, especially in the United States. Obviously, DSP Premium being in the same ecosystem as DFA, because they're both Google products, is a big plus. Of course, its drawback is that they don't have impression syncing with any of the other third-party ad servers that are out there. So, with that being said, you may want to be thinking about something like Campaign 360 from Operative, which does combine both the primary and the third-party reporting into one platform for multiple ad servers. There's a question here about, from a financial reporting and billing point of view, which of the ad servers which of the ad servers are superior to others. We really don't get that involved, and the ad servers on the billing side, because that tends not to be what they're specialized in. They're specialized in serving and counting and effectively evaluating all of the ad calls that are made to them. So an order management system tends to be the way to go there, and at the risk of repeating myself, we know which one we would recommend. There's a few questions about other ad servers, and certainly, we don't want to talk about any of the ad servers that we haven't chosen to evaluate here. But if you wanted to follow up with us online, we'd be happy to have discussions with you about those. There's a question here about homegrown and ad servers and DE, Dark Enterprise, which I would sort of kind of group together, because I'm presuming by the homegrown ad server question that it's something that you host yourself or you built internally. The question of something like DE and or an in-house kind of system is one of how you like to manage technology, whether you like it to be in a cloud or whether you prefer and have software as a service, which in effect is really what these major ad servers are, as opposed to actually having it within your own own technology stack and actually being responsible for managing that hardware and managing that uptime. Obviously, there are costs associated with doing that, but it also gives you a lot of flexibility and freedom. That's really an organizational kind of question that probably gets asked alongside the other key questions that we discussed during the course of this webinar. Okay, I can go through just one more question, and I'm just trying to pick one out here that would be of interest to as many people as possible. And I think the good question here is, do I think there's a data risk? Because many of the major ad servers are owned by holding companies or companies with similar business to yourself. In the same way, that I talked about Google being not only a great technology provider, but a competitor. The same could be said of the other holding companies and the other ad servers. AdTech has links into AOL. OAS is owned by 24/7 Real Media, which of course is WPP as well. So, do I think there's a data risk? No. There are good license agreements, and and they're not going to go snooping into the data. But at the same time, it is a concern. You are in some ways sharing data with a potential competitor, and while and that always gives people cause for thought, even if there's no real legal reason to need to do so. And I don't think that there is. But obviously that does give some people food for thought, and it's a concern within in the industry, and I know it comes up every time we have these kinds of discussions. With that being said, we are out of time. I would like to thank everybody for attending, and we hope you found the information presented informative and enlightening. There were a couple of corrections that people made for me, or some additional information inquiries. We'll try and get back to you on those and clarifications on things. And if you've got any additional questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.